The James Webb Telescope is the latest technology that had been launched by NASA. It is here to change how we view the whole world as it tries to answer the question, how did the universe come to be? But just like all other NASA satellites, there is a naming system for it. However, for the James Webb Space Telescope, there were a lot of controversies as to how it should be named. So what happened before they could finally settle on the James Webb Space Telescope name? Hello and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to have a look at the struggles that were there during the naming of the James Webb Telescope. But before we begin, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos. And with that said, let's find out how NASA settled on the James Webb Space Telescope name. The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, is the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope. It was launched with the aim of studying cosmic phenomena. This includes star formation, galaxy evolution, and exoplanets. It is also set to answer the greatest question of all, how the universe came to be. International partners in the mission include the European and Canadian space agencies. It was given its name in 2002 by the former NASA administrator, Sean O'Keefe. He named it so because he wanted to highlight Webb's accomplishments in government. O'Keefe, who is now at Syracuse University in New York, says that Webb had the ability to bring together those from multiple disciplines and collectively work together to achieve something larger than themselves. According to him, NASA would not be the same if Webb was not the administrator. The James Webb Telescope was launched on December 25, 2021, and so began its 5-year mission. It will mostly use infrared wavelengths to study the galaxy and planet formation, as much as the JWST is expected to give us a deeper understanding of high redshift galaxies in the early universe, as well as contextualize Earth within the diverse population of exoplanets. It had had some controversies when it was being named. There were over 1,700 people who had signed a petition pushing for the JWST to be renamed. This was because there was evidence that James Webb was a part of and involved in discriminatory practices against LGBTQ+ people by the US federal government and its agencies. But before that, let us have a look at the history. When the telescope was first introduced in 1989, it was first named the Next Generation Space Telescope, NGST. Later on, after casual discussions with others at NASA, the former NASA administrator Sean O'Keefe renamed it after James E. Webb in 2002. The choice to name it after him was against the traditions of naming space telescopes. Before this, space telescopes were named after some prominent astronomers and physicists. This happens through a formal review process. NASA's 4 great observatories are named after Subrahmanyan Chandrasekhar, CXO, Arthur Compton, CGRO, Edwin Hubble, HST, and Lyman Spitzer, SST. However, for Webb, he was not a scientist. He served as NASA's administrator from 1961 to 1968. He was also a bureaucrat who oversaw the early crew spacecraft missions. These include the Mercury and Gemini projects. He was the one who was also in charge during the Apollo 1 fire. Webb also had several administrative roles within the US government, such as being second in rank at the US State Department as Undersecretary of State from 1949 to 1952. There was a period in US post-war history known as the Lavender Scare. During this period, LGBTQ+ government employees were hunted for decades. This led to thousands being fired, while others being forced to resign from their positions. Unlike other period known as the Red Scare, the politicals that were said during the Lavender Scare went on into the 1990s. In 2015, there were allegations against James Webb that surfaced for the first time. However, these same allegations resurfaced in March 2021, and this time they were followed by an opinion piece that were published in Scientific American. This piece was mostly written by astronomers Chanda Prescott-Weinstein, Sarah Tuttle, Lucian Wolkowitz, and Brian Nord. According to archival evidence, when Webb served as Undersecretary of State in 1950, he met the Senator Howey to ask about the Senate committee that had been set up to run investigations onto the employment of LGBTQ+ people in the US government. The preparation for this meeting, Webb received various materials, such as a background paper on the problem of homosexuals and sex perverts in the Department of State. The committee, which later came to be known as the Hoey Committee, went on to produce a report. According to this report, members of the LGBTQ+ community were unsuitable to be employed in the government since they were deemed security risks. Later on, in 1953, Webb also met with the President Truman to have a discussion about the Hoey Committee. When Webb was still the NASA administrator, there was a NASA employee named Clifford Norton, who was fired for immoral, indecent, and disgraceful conduct. This was after he was arrested and later interrogated at NASA for suspicion of homosexuality. After being fired, Norton later sued for a review of his dismissal, in which the case was ruled in his favor. A petition soon followed in May 2021, after the Scientific American article highlighted these concerns and advocated for the renaming of the telescope. Both the article and the petition argued that the name of such an important mission is always a reflection of our values and both a scientific and global community. According to both, Webb's complicit silence during his leadership role at both the State Department and NASA did not go hand in hand with those values. Of course, there were those who will deem Webb's leadership during the space era worthy of celebration, and these are the same people who will justify naming the telescope after him. However, this leadership also means that he was aware of the firing of Clifford Norton. One may argue that the allegations against Webb may be typical of many others in position of power in the era if you consider society's attitudes at that time. But the question is it right to ignore something that we feel is wrong just because it is common everywhere? As this petition gained more and more signatures, NASA finally announced that they would be launching an investigation to be carried out by both internal and external historians. The investigation would be to review the archival documents that surrounded Webb's policies and actions during the era. Later on, in the late September, NASA's current administrator gave a single sentence to very few press members, saying, "We have found no evidence at this time that warrants changing the name of the James Webb Space Telescope." Later on, the investigations were considered closed, mainly due to the fact that non-digitalized documents were limited due to the pandemic. To this date, no formal written report on the investigation has been released. Brian Odom, NASA's chief historian, later clarified that during the investigation, historians conducted a thorough search for evidence of actions taken by Webb that would indicate that he was more than an onlooker during the era of extreme homophobia. However, no evidence was found for this. Odom also said if there was any more evidence revealed, it would be taken into consideration. This outcome made a lot of astronomers angry and disappointed, including those with programs to use the telescope in the first year. They were mostly angry at the lack of transparency in the investigation. One of the petition's original signatures, Lucianne Walkowitz, even went ahead and resigned from NASA's Astrophysics Advisory Committee. Other astronomers feel the decision is hard to accept, given that they have no idea how it was reached. According to the 2020 Decadal Survey, the victims of identity-based discrimination should be recognized and supported. Also, recruiting and retaining historically underrepresented groups and creating diverse leaders who are willing to practice equity-advancing values should be considered as the astronomy community's fundamental goals. How well can these goals be achieved if one of the most significant missions of the 2020s and beyond is named after someone whose wider legacy on the matters is at best complicated? Even worse, allowing a long-term culture of discrimination against LGBTQ+ astronomers would not be a good thing to do. So what do you think about the name of the James Webb Telescope? Do you think it was right to name it after Webb? Feel free to let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel because there is plenty where this video came from. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.